Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. Before I begin, I want to admit that I am still both confused and shaken up by this. The fact that I, 20 female, met my boyfriend, 22 male, on some shady dating app should have been a clue for me to run and not accept his date. The first red flag that I totally missed was when he asked me so much about my past instead of getting to know my present. I thought at first that he was trying to see if we attended the same schools growing up or grew up in the same neighborhood, but after a while, the conversation grew uncomfortable. Once we finally started talking about the classes we were taking in college, that's when everything became normal again, no longer being weird. He happened to attend the same college as my ex, but I thought it would be inappropriate to ask him if he knew him. He then wanted to commemorate our date with a friendly pic of us, and I was okay with that. What I liked about him was that he was very good looking. I know, shallow, but at my age, we see a person's personality based on their looks. One thing I can say was he seemed more interested in himself most times than me. Another red flag I chose to overlook since I wanted to give him a proper chance. By date 2, he was posting pictures of us on his social media regularly, and I liked the attention. So I didn't mind. The next thing I know, my ex begins blowing up my phone the day after the second date, but I blocked him because I thought it was weird. My ex and I had a very bad breakup, and when I was bawling my eyes out trying to get him to reconsider the breakup and take me back, he coldly refused to. After that, he would never answer my calls or texts, so I thought it was weird that he was now calling all of a sudden after I had started seeing someone new. One day, while a month into our relationship, my boyfriend and I got on the topic of exes. He mentioned how his ex broke up with him because he accidentally missed one of the games she cheerleaded for. It sounded oddly familiar to the reason why my ex and I broke up, as I had missed one of his soccer games due to being stuck in traffic on the way there. I found myself going on a rant about my breakup and how my ex had been so irrational and insensitive when he ended our relationship. How I didn't expect to be stuck in heavy traffic, and how it was wrong for my ex to say I was such an inconsiderate person because I never left out on time for his games. But I expected him to show up early to all of my extracurriculars. At the time, I didn't pay attention to how much my boyfriend was sucking up everything I was saying and thoroughly enjoying the way I ripped into my ex. Even when I realized what I was doing and apologized to him for going on this tangent over my ex, he encouraged me to continue. That I would feel better once I got all of it out is what he had the nerve to say. So I kept going, and after a while, I felt better and I stopped the ex bashing. The problems between us started like a week later when my ex started hitting me up on social media since I had blocked his number on my phone. My boyfriend found out he was messaging me and became pissed, accusing me of playing him behind his back for my ex. Even when I told him that I wasn't reaching out to my ex and it was the other way around, he was still so mad. So I ended up blocking my ex on social media too, and it weirdly pleased my boyfriend way too much. Like, he literally tried to initiate a makeout session right then and there after I did the blocking. After that, things were back to normal and okay with us again, thinking that my ex will finally leave me alone and not find any way to get in touch with me. While I was out to eat, with one of my cousins. He approaches our table and pleads for me to speak to him. I told him that he had plenty of chances and opportunities to speak to me when I had been begging for him to talk to me during our breakup. I told him that it was too late now for us to discuss anything, that I wanted nothing to do with him, and then asked him to leave me alone. When he wouldn't walk away, I asked the server if they could escort him away from our table. I went home, back to my dorm, studied for a test I have the next day, and then I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning to my boyfriend texting me how he heard about my ex trying to talk to me last night, and he even heard about how I told my ex I wanted nothing to do with him. I thought everything was okay until my boyfriend suddenly tells me that it's over and never to contact him again. I ask him, why was he doing this? And shouldn't he be happy that I told my ex that I wanted nothing to do with him? He ignores me and doesn't reply to my texts, doesn't answer my calls. And I was so upset and confused. I didn't do well at the test I had studied so hard for. I felt like a failure that I had two guys break up with me in the span of 6 months, and I actually became so sick that I couldn't keep food down for days. At the urging of my roommate, I decided to attend a house party with her, and all of a sudden, I am pulled to the side by my most recent ex-boyfriend's best friend. He asks me if I'm okay, and I told him not really, that I have no idea what's going on or why I was broken up with. His best friend tells me that he's only telling me this because he didn't agree with my now ex doing what he did to me. I thought he meant the breakup, but apparently him going after me to date me was all part of his big, elaborate plan to rub in my ex's face. So apparently, my first ex beat out my most recent ex soccer captain, and my now ex was so mad that he quit the soccer team. Ever since then, he's been wanting to get revenge on my first ex, and when he found out that my first ex was planning on reaching out to talk to me, he sent me a message on the dating app after recognizing me from the old pictures on my first ex's social media page. My now ex wanted to date me so that I wouldn't get back with my first ex whenever my first ex worked up the courage to approach me, and then he wanted me to like him so much that after I rejected my first ex, he'll break up with me as some sort of, I had the girl you wanted, enjoy my leftovers. I was pretty upset by that because I felt so used, and I thought that he really liked me. But I guess some people are really good actors when faking it in life. I went to the school that both of my exes attend and went to my first ex's dorm, hoping he was there so that I could speak with him. Luckily, he was there alone, playing video games, and he let me in so that we could talk. I immediately apologized to him for being so dismissive and explained that I had been so hurt by how he had broken up with me and had refused to speak to me. He said that he felt hurt because I had missed one of the most important games of the season and felt that I could be inconsiderate sometimes when it came to other people. I realized he was right because I made time to do things I wanted to do, but kind of dragged my feet when it came to other people. We agreed to be friends for a while and just see if we found ourselves back to each other in a romantic way. I then stayed to watch him play the game for a bit, even taking a picture of him, while he was playing to post to my social media with a silly comment. Not even 5 minutes later, my most recent ex is texting me and calling me all sorts of disrespectful names for hanging out with my first ex. I'm just confused about it. If I'm TA for being around my first ex or not, I have no idea what I did wrong here, especially since my most recent ex was the one scheming and using me to hurt my first ex. Hi guys. So it's been 3 days and all of a sudden my most recent ex wants us to get back together. When I confronted him about his big revenge plot against my first ex, he completely denied it and demanded I tell him who told him. But I didn't give his best friend up, and I told him that I wasn't interested in getting back together with a guy who acted as he did. He becomes offended and starts raving like a crazy person as if I'm the one who did something to him. Thank God we attend different colleges and I don't have to see him that much. It's been exactly 3 weeks since my last update and wanted to let everyone know that I got back with my ex. No, not the scheming one, but my first ex, which happened when we started back hanging out and old feelings between us came back. I am working on being more considerate in this second try at our relationship, and I want everyone to wish me luck. P.S. My most recent ex has become a stalker, and I had to file a restraining order against him. NTA. The dude used you to make your ex mad, and now he's mad you're back to being around the ex? Seems like his plan backfired or something. Maybe he didn't even know what he was doing? LOL. Yeah, college can actually be a scary place, especially when it comes to a man-child. I thought your ex was also an a-hole with how he broke up with you over the soccer game until I read the part about him saying you're inconsiderate. The fact that you also admitted to being inconsiderate made me understand more why he broke up with you. It's good you were working hard on that in the relationship, and I hope things go well for you. So I, 25, female, work in a pretty big office in a big city. The floor I work on is specifically for a branch of the company, so there's only a dozen people on that floor. I bring my lunch every day because most of the time I don't have time to get up and get food for myself. One of my favorite foods is strawberries, and I eat them all the time. About a week ago, a woman I'll call Jane, 47, female, started working in the room about 7 doors down from me. A couple of days ago, I pulled out my lunch and started munching on my strawberries while trying to type an email. Jane knocks on my door and asks me what the hell I'm doing. She says this in a very high-pitched, pissed tone, so I'm taken aback, and all I can murmur out is a small, "What?" before she starts yelling at me. She goes on about how I should know she's allergic and that even smelling strawberries can cause her a severe reaction. I cough on my strawberry and rush to put it back in its container, and she gets even angrier that I didn't already know. I apologize and put my food back in my lunchbox, then put it in the drawer of my desk. The next day, I go to my supervisor, I'll call Derek, to talk about the situation and ask if we could maybe put a sign up at the entrance of our office floor that tells us what allergies our coworkers have. That way we can avoid mistakes that happened the day before. He looks at me confused and asks what I'm talking about. I explain what happened the day before, and he sighs and explains to me that Jane has no proven documentation about her allergy and didn't put on any allergies on the employee information sheet when she was employed. I sigh with relief and ask if it's okay I bring my strawberries the next day, and he says it's perfectly fine. So the next day, I brought my strawberries, and Jane goes off on me as I open my lunch and claims I'm trying to kill her. She says this loud enough, all of my other coworkers gather around my door and see what's going on. Jane storms out, and about half of my coworkers tell me I'm an a-hole for doing that to her and walk out with her. The other half sits there and tells me it's fine and that she did the same thing to them, but with different foods. Examples: carrots, beans, avocado, etc. I'm getting a lot of angry emails calling me an a-hole, and I feel horrible. But some of my coworkers are saying I did nothing wrong. Am I the a-hole? NTA. If she's done this to other coworkers about other foods, I'm willing to bet she either just doesn't like the smell or she likes the drama and attention. There's no allergy involved, or she would have documentation. Anytime you need accommodation at work for your health, you have to provide documentation. Ask your supervisor if they can send out an email to everyone saying that any allergies must be registered with the workplace if accommodations are needed. Hopefully, that will stop the emails and hate. Also, let them know that this person shouted at you again for just eating your lunch. NTA. My sister-in-law is allergic to strawberries. My daughter has 37 known and documented allergies. Do you know what they do? They carry their EpiPens, Benadryl, and Pepcid. Take a daily allergy pill. Get a weekly allergy shot. And they don't sit with people who choose to eat the things they are allergic to. Unless you're going from strawberries to Jane's desk, she will not die from you eating in your office. Tell your supervisor to speak with Jane and tell your coworkers to get some business that pertains to them as you asked and get permission for the strawberries. But most of all, your lunch and Jane's antics are not their business. Yes, allergies are serious, but it's on the person allergic to be prepared for an allergic reaction. It's ridiculous to think and expect adults to not do things because someone else is allergic. Children have these rules because they share things, touch each other, all in everyone's face. Adults don't too much do all that stuff, and adults with allergies know what they are allergic to, so they stay away from things they have an allergy to. You should email the office and ask if there's Benadryl and Pepcid in the first aid kit in the office. If Jane doesn't know what Pepcid is, for then you'll know she's a liar. Anyone with severe allergies knows Pepcid, and it's not for heartburn. Pretty straightforward. I got a lock for my 4-year-old's room. My son is only 4, but he's super at collecting things. He has autism. He has probably every single Monster Jam, Monster Truck ever made. He has every single Marvel, DC superhero action figure you could think of. And he's really into setting up these huge marble runs. Everything is organized and put away nicely, and my son likes to keep it that way. The problem is that every time my best friend's kids or my nephew comes over, they beeline it to his room and trash everything. Literally from ripping off legs to the action figures, ripping off tires to his monster trucks, and just trashing every single toy that they can get their hands on in general. I'm not even talking about just normal wear and tear. These kids are so destructive, and they will destroy almost everything they put their hands on. The marbles end up all over my house and lost. He also has a collection of those squishy toys, and one of the kids literally will not keep their hands off them and bites a hole in one every single time, ruining it. I used to go through his room and have to hide everything before they came over to try to avoid this, but I have literally had it at this point. So I told them they are no longer allowed in my son's room, period. They can play with the huge bin of toys that I have in the living room or one of the hundreds of toys outside, etc. Of course, it didn't go over well, and the kids started throwing a fit because they know what's in his room and the toys aren't good enough, and they are bored. And my sister and best friend are both saying that I'm being too much and saying that they're just toys. But these toys are expensive. We spent hours building the marble run just for it to get torn down the absolute second they walk in the door. And after everyone's gone and the room is trashed and all his toys are broken and misplaced, he's really upset over it. Rightfully, IMO. They say I am teaching him not to share, and to be greedy, but I disagree. I think they need to teach their kids basic respect for other people's stuff and to not throw a fit when they can't have something. I wouldn't have a problem with them going in there and playing with the stuff if they were even the least bit respectful about it, but proven time and time again that they can't handle it. Now they don't want to come over with their kids because they think I'm being an a-hole, and I honestly don't care. I also believe that you should teach your kids to share, but not everything has to be shared. You can have specific things to just keep for yourself. I'm just curious as to what everyone else thinks. Am I the a-hole or no? I'm just not going to have them over anymore. I explained to them what everyone is saying in the comments, and while they agreed, nothing will ever change. With my best friend, my sister is 100% on board. They came over, Bestie's kids, 2 times since the incident, and now that they're not allowed in the room, they just find other crap to get into the house. Next best thing to get into this time was the pantry. I just come to realize that these kids are monsters. It doesn't matter what situation they're put in, they will find a way to be horrible. Everything they do is because she allows it at her own home. Claims she doesn't, but the kids wouldn't act like that if she were telling the truth. I don't want to ruin my 15-year friendship because I do love my best friend. I just hate her kids, so I don't know what to do. NTA, these kids don't respect no, and they don't respect your child's belongings. I'm sure your child is willing to share every toy in the entire rest of the house, just not his special ones. And that's fine. As you said, not everything has to be shared, and sharing doesn't mean I get to do whatever I want to your stuff. If a lock on the door is what it takes to keep the hooligans in line, then lock that door and don't feel bad about it. NTA, unless those parents are willing to replace everything that gets broken every time, they can either play with the toys available or bring their own. I'd make a list of all the items that have broken to date and the cost and present it to the parents. If they're willing to pay it, then play dates can resume. If not, they can stop complaining, as a debt is owed. Those kids should be taught to respect other people's things, and their parents are at fault for that.